Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So as you probably saw from the title of this video, we are doing a little bit of prep. I'm going to be prepping some smoothies and a soup in preparation for going on vacation. I had all this produce in my fridge. I didn't want it to go bad while I was going on vacation, so I decided to cut it all up and throw it into some freezer bags and make green smoothies out of it because we like green smoothies. It's a really easy way to get iron, and besides, I just think they taste good. They make me feel really refreshed and just all around amazing. So right now I'm just cutting off the stems and any bad spots that I see from the produce. Right now I'm doing collard greens. And then I'm just going to split all the produce up evenly into 3 separate freezer bags. The bags that I used were gallon size, and they made huge smoothies. Probably a little bit. They made 2 separate smoothie days for us. So I made the smoothies, then poured the remainder into ice cube trays and froze those, and use those as our smoothies the next time we wanted them. So that way we didn't have to dump out perfectly good smoothies. So right now I'm just cutting the cucumber into thirds and then cutting those thirds into little chunks. That way they blend easier and don't mess up my blender. And you'll see me do this later, cut everything into pieces of 3. So normally I do 1 banana per smoothie, but I only had 2 at the time. I didn't have any more bananas. I was completely out. So I was just trying to split them up as evenly as I could. But yeah, I probably would have added more banana to it. So right now I'm just adding kale to my smoothie. I love kale. It's a really good source of iron, good source of protein, and any added minerals. And I put in, I'd say a bunch of kale per bag, like an actual bunch, because that's just what I had. Normally I put in, I think like a half of a bunch, but it's just what I'm feeling that day. I really don't go by any certain recipe when I make smoothies. But I will put in the description box around about what I normally do, because I did add a little extra produce to this one and a few extra things that I wouldn't have added normally and probably won't add again. So we like to add dates to give it kind of a natural sweetness. I always just cut them in half to make sure they blend easier. And if they're cold, like hard, they will mess up your blender. So if you have cold dates and you put them in a smoothie, you technically should be soaking them in hot water for 5-10 minutes before you put them in your blender, because it can mess them up if not. And then of course spinach, because spinach is good for you and offers iron. And I'm just trying to get rid of it, so I'm throwing in bunches. And then of course apples, just to give it a little added sweetness and just for the added nutrients. I don't remember what kind these were. I think they were Granny Smiths. I'm not sure, I can't remember. This was a couple weeks ago. But I'm not really picky on what kind of apples I add, just whatever I have on hand, or if I have any on hand, I'll add them. Not really picky when it comes to what type of apples I like, except for Red Delicious. I refuse to eat wet sand, because that's all Red Delicious tastes like. Basically, I'm just cutting out the core, any bad spots, cutting them into little bits, and throwing them in the bag. Pretty simple. So I started adding carrots probably about 2 months ago because they're really good for you. They're good for your eyesight, and me and my husband are blind as a bat, so I'm hoping this can kind of counteract that. And I'm not really worried about like mess or anything, just kind of scraping it off as I go because I know it's gonna get messy, and I just went ahead and cleaned afterwards. But I just peeled them, that's the word I'm looking for. I peeled them and then I just shredded them with my box grater. I was actually missing the little bowl that comes with it that goes underneath it to catch everything, so I had to use a Tupperware container, and it didn't really work out well, but you do what you gotta do. And then I'm just adding in some frozen mango because, of course, like it says on the bag, it's high in vitamin C. And I use frozen because it's kind of hard to get fresh mango around here, and it's just easier and cheaper to go with the frozen mango chunks. So this is that grass powder that I was talking about earlier. It's called organic greens. It is a mixture of like chlorella and alfalfa grass and barley grass and a couple others. It's just a green superfood, and I added a scoop of that to each bag. And then ground flaxseed because it's really amazing for you, and if you go vegan or plant-based, it needs to be like an essential in your everyday life, or try and incorporate it as much as you can because it's really, really good for you. And then just some blueberries again, just because I'm trying to get rid of them. I don't normally add those. About a tablespoon of chia seeds, just for the omega-3s. And then here is the biggest mistake I made while making these smoothies. I don't like the taste of celery. I eat it because it's good for you. But I had some in my fridge. I didn't want it to go bad, and celery is actually a really common part of smoothies, like green smoothies, because it is so good for you. And I figured, you know, hopefully the amount of sweetness that I've added will help counteract how bitter it is and just how disgusting it is. No, that is the only thing I taste in my smoothie now is celery. And no amount of dates or mango or blueberries. I could add raw sugar to this. I could add agave or honey. It's still going to taste like celery, and it's awful drinking it. But I make do until the bags are all gone, which they're almost all gone now. So now we are moving on to the soup portion of this. This is a butternut squash, and I'm preparing just like a butternut squash soup to go in the slow cooker. So basically like a dump and go type meal. It's so hard to cut through butternut squash when you have a dull knife, and at this point this is all I was working with, was an incredibly dull knife that couldn't be sharpened unless I had a diamond stone because of the material it is, but I didn't have one of those, so I just having to make do with what I had at this point. But I have new knives now, so basically all you do is cut it up into little pieces, and then of course you peel it, which is easier to do when you cut it into smaller portions. Personally, I think you might think different if you try this recipe. I'll leave it linked below in the description box. But it's a different recipe than the ones I've normally tried, so I'm hoping that it tastes good, because the ones I tried before, I'm kind of getting a little tired of the taste. Didn't really taste that great. Doesn't taste bad, but doesn't taste great. And then each recipe required 1 squash, about 2.5 pounds of squash, and I had 2 of them. So I made the recipe twice. However, these were really big. They were, I think, 3 pounds each. So this second one, I was getting really irritated at it because it wasn't working. My knives weren't working. So I'm sitting there thinking, you know, if I lose a little bit, it's fine. So besides the onion and garlic to help flavor it, I did add some parsley, salt, ground ginger, and I want to say that's Italian seasoning. So I just added some basic instructions just to add, I think, 4 cups of vegetable broth and a 1/4 cup of coconut milk per bag. I should have done this before I put the stuff in there, but I wasn't thinking. And then right here I'm just meal prepping just some very basic salads just to get the rest of the stuff out of my fridge. We ended up actually forgetting about these, and we came home from vacation and opened the fridge and there was just brown lettuce and just nastiness in our Tupperware containers. So that was not fun. And then I'm wearing an apron because I actually had to work this night. I was going to training and I had already gotten dressed because I think I left like right after these were done, and I didn't want to get anything on my outfit because, like I said in my Ross haul, which if you haven't seen it you should go watch it, I'll link it down below, but I work for a financial company and we have to dress business casual. So it wasn't like t-shirt and jeans where I could just throw another one on. It was, you know, a really nice top with some slacks that I didn't want to get dirty.